y'all was already waiting. I said, I'm serious. I see some of y'all was waiting because y'all know it's Monday. It's 8 o'clock. Y'all know I got somebody real good on. So I'm so excited. Y'all already know who I am. I'm super excited to welcome y'all back. Last week I started off with my husband. So I was y'all know how he get. He always want to come on. He always want to invite himself back, y'all. But this week I told him, all right, babe. I said, chill, you giving them too much. So I gotta have some other people on. But I'm really excited because what I felt like honestly was I know that we were talking about unpacking baggage, but I really felt led. I was telling my husband, like, I feel like we need unpacking baggage could be like a serious matter. And it's not that we can't share or I can't share my experience. Good evening, y'all. But it's one of those things where I feel like, yo, let's get some professional help to help us share our experiences. So I'm really super excited. I have on one of my sisters, KENISHA. I am so excited to have her on tonight. So tonight we're talking about unpacking baggage, but y'all know how God always does me. Why it's the week of or last week while I'm talking, I literally hear what I'm going to talk about for the next week. But I heard the fear of letting go. And I know that the fear of letting go is a big thing. Like I know for a fact anything, and I feel like it's so applicable to anything in our life, right? So it's like whether it be kids, whether it be church, whether it be marriage, relationships, job. I think the fear of letting go, it could go, you could put it and place it anywhere. Yes, happy MLK Day. I forgot. Yes. Martin Luther King, thank you for all you did. Yep. So I'm super excited to introduce my sister. Tell the people who you are.
Good evening, everybody. Happy MLK Day, like you said,
Yes.
sis. My name is KENISHA Coley. I am the founder of Heartstrings Counseling Services in New Jersey. I am the wife of Colin Coley for almost 8 years.
Amen.
And together we blended a family of 5 children, ages 12 to 21. So we're kind of busy in this household. I've been in the social services and education field for many years. I'm a certified school counselor, providing services in Philadelphia, which is where I started. I'm a
Amen.
Philly native, born and raised. Um, and so, I served as like I said, a school counselor. Prior to serving in that capacity, I served as a dean of students at a few charter schools, director of children and family services in the Montessori school, served as a mobile therapist in the
Come
process.
on.
And so, I fully transitioned to the mental health and counseling capacity as a therapist about 5 years ago, over the last 5 years. And so, I'm launching my health and life coaching here shortly. So stay tuned for that. But
Yeah.
I will tell you though, T. Usually, I only say all of that stuff when I'm interviewing for a job, and so when I meet clients, they don't want to hear that. They don't care nothing about none of
Yeah.
that. They want to know about your life experiences. How
Right.
can you help me? And
Yeah.
what about you says that you're qualified to support me and where I'm going? So
Yeah.
my life experiences have been a great teacher for me. And so
Yeah.
those are the tools that I take with me inside my sessions.
That's so
So,
good.
thank you for having me on here. I'm
Yeah.
honored. So,
Yeah,
thank
I'm
you.
honored. I really am honored. I'm not even joking. Like I'm very transparent on here. Me and my husband very transparent. I don't know you like that, but I know you. Like so,
Right,
it's
right,
like
right.
it's an honor. It's an honor for you to say yes. You don't know me like that, but the
Yeah.
funny part is that we discussed earlier how you reminded me of how we really was like, how we really connected.
How
And I
we
was like,
connected in so many ways and didn't even realize it.
I didn't even realize I told you I talked to so many people like when I'm at church and because of what I was doing, I talked to so many
Hmm.
people, but and then after you
Right.
remind me, like, oh my God, like, and it's crazy because and what I said to you, and it pays to be nice to people.
It
It really
does.
does.
It
But
really
that's
does.
just who I am. But it's one of
Hmm.
those things where it was a situation and it was like I was kind. I really was. But imagine for real though. Imagine if I wasn't kind. And you like,
Like,
yeah,
oh,
I'm
she
not coming
calling
on
me.
like I'm not coming on your podcast. No, you was not kind to me. But again, that's where I know that it pays to be kind. I'm so serious. So, but
Absolutely.
and you know what's crazy, and this kind of goes right into this too. But sometimes God will tell us to say something or do something,
Right.
for a person. And sometimes we're fearful to say it because we feel as though,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and God, God will
That
put us
fear.
in like these situations, like, just say hi. You're like,
Right.
say hi.
Right.
I ain't saying hi to her. She
Break the
don't give
ice a little bit. Right.
yeah. Or like, it would be a weird situation. But anyway, but thank you for me having a nice heart and God giving me this nice
Oh.
heart. I'm serious. I'm serious. But I appreciate you having a nice heart too, because that I could have said, you need no, I don't need, I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm just so glad that you were kind. So I praise God for
Thank
you. I really
you.
do. But I do definitely want to dig right in. You got some people in here saying hi to you. Hey everybody. So let's just say
Hi
hello, everybody.
everyone. Hello.
We're gonna say hey
Thank you
again.
all for joining.
Yes, thank y'all for joining. And we got some sisters from the church. Everybody saying, "Hey, sister, sister, sister."
Hey.
Oh,
TFC in the building.
I know, right? So anyway, I wanted to start real fast. I won't hold everybody because I know that Eagles
The
game is
Eagles
on there.
game is on.
Everybody
I
like,
know.
yeah, are they gonna win or are they gonna lose?
Like,
What are we
hurry
doing?
up.
Yes, right. But one of the things that again in the last year, coming into this year, I think I was actually on with somebody and I literally heard baggage and I heard unpacking baggage. And what I said was sometimes like when the year's ending, we will be like, oh, I need to get myself together for the new year. But I felt like God was like, no, like January is a great time to really unpack your baggage.
Right.
And it's crazy because again, we would think like, oh, we really need to get ourselves together before the new year. But it's like, I was like, no, it's okay. Like you have 12 months prayerfully, but it's like you have 12 months ahead of you. Why not start fresh the new year,
Right.
unpacking your
Absolutely.
baggage? And one of the things that I heard last week was the fear of letting go. And I don't know if this is I guess I want to use this as the urban, the urban definition. I don't know. Like I just felt like I heard it in church like so long ago, so many years ago, and it was something that I kind of just like never let go. Like the fear, fear, the false evidence appearing to be real. Because I'm
Right. I
sure if
heard
you go
that.
look it
Yeah.
up in the dictionary, that's not what it says. But it may say, danger or yada yada yada. And
Right.
biblically, I was looking it up biblically, and it was saying like it's two definitions for this. It's the fear of God or the fear of, like I said
Right.
again, that danger thing or causing some type of anxiety. But I think what I was going to say was, false evidence appearing to be real.
Right.
And I think I was thinking about it earlier, and I was thinking about how fear is really a lie. Like it's just a flat lie. There is no truth to
Absolutely.
fear. Like no
Absolutely.
truth at all. And I was thinking
Absolutely.
about how many times Satan used fear or uses fear to grip us and hold us from becoming, right?
Right.
So from
Right.
becoming whatever it is, right?
Right.
So if you had several miscarriages, he will grip you from or being fearful of having a baby again. If you've been in failed marriages, he will hold that thing on you and it's like, I ain't never getting married. He will cause us to make these promises to ourselves or these vows to ourselves that are not fair. Like, or if we've been in bad, friendships. Oh, I don't want to deal with girls or women because women are always catty. They do yeah. Or I
Right.
refuse to work with these type of people because or whatever this thing is that Satan literally uses. And it's crazy because I love how I really said Satan, I love how I really said say, I'm sure I got it from somebody else though, but Satan uses fear to grip us and hold us from actually becoming whatever it is that God has literally designed us to be. What's your thoughts on that?
And I will tell you that fear, a lot of times, it prompts us to take actions,
Yeah.
and those actions are like, you think about, is this fear allowing me? Is this fear going to help me? Is it serving me well? Like, is this fear helping me to protect myself? Is this my only method of
Yeah.
survival is to
Yeah.
experience this level of fear?
Yeah.
And that's real. Some people have experienced fear from a real or a perceived threat. Most of the time it's something that's
good.
perceived. It's all in our head,
Yeah.
and it involves, that whole sense of apprehension, and you're going through the anxiety piece, like you just talked about. It takes us through all of these physiological changes, that fight or flight response we experience,
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I mean, and sometimes fear is absolutely, it can be a healthy thing for us. Fear can
Yes.
be healthy, but then there are times when we experience fear that is totally unhealthy. And then that's when we go off and making different decisions and
Yeah.
choices that we shouldn't make in our life. So
Yeah.
I believe that sometimes we're given, those, what's the word I'm looking for? We have that, that inclination that something is going to happen.
Yeah.
And when it goes too far, it becomes fear, and it
Yeah.
stagnates us. It stops us from being successful. It stops us from,
Yeah.
getting to where we need to be. So
Yeah.
fear can be very dangerous
Yeah.
for
You
us,
know, it's
to say the
crazy.
least.
I was reading that part. I think it was on psychology.com, but I was reading
Mm-hmm.
that part on fear that said I can't remember, right? You probably know
Mm-hmm.
this, but it was like something in the front of your brain. It triggers something in the front of your brain where it makes you literally go to fight or flight. And I think
Right.
I don't know if people know what fight or flight is, but it's literally fight for your life or run.
Right, or
Like
right, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it can
literally,
include, like, your heart racing and you having
yeah,
that rapid breathing, heightened
yeah,
alertness, just, and your body is basically preparing to respond to that perceived
yeah,
threat. So you're
yeah. And
either
that's
going to,
the
like you
thing.
said, fight or flight.
Yeah, that thing. I think, and that's the thing for us. I think even as women and men, but like I
Mm-hmm.
think I always say I think that women deal with fear differently because we're so emotional. We're emotional
Absolutely.
creatures in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's crazy? I'm gonna say this because I was in a car with my husband yesterday, and we was talking about something like he was about to text somebody when we got to the house, and I'm like, "Well, we're 20 minutes away. The GPS says 20 minutes away. Why don't
Mm-hmm.
you tell them now?" And he's like, because I could just tell them when I get to the house. And I'm like, but why wouldn't you do? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Men think like I'm going to the house when I get there. This is what I'm gonna do. But women are like, in the meanwhile, from the
Right.
time we left the place to the time we're getting to the place, we've thought about what we gonna cook when we go in the house. Are we gonna straighten
Right.
up? Are we
Right.
gonna like we give people we can give people step by step, like, all right, I'm gonna be there in like 20 minutes. So when I get there in 20 minutes, I'm gonna make the decision. Like, and he was just like, y'all be overthinking too much. And I say that to say that with fear, we will overthink it too much. He said, I stand
Yeah,
by my decision.
absolutely.
Bye, honey. I know he stand by his decision. He really did. But with fear, I think what we do is we overthink it too much.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
it could be something like as simple, like, and then we're like, hold on, what about? It's like we go into literally like fight mode automatically
Right.
sometimes
Right.
because yes, because we're so more detailed
Right.
oriented. We will go and jump the gun literally and be like, and now
Right.
we've
Like, is
gotten
this
ourselves
thing,
into a
but,
situation.
and again, when, going into fight or flight, I just keep thinking about, is this feeling of fear, is it
Yeah,
increasing my chance to survive?
yeah,
So I think a lot
yeah,
of times when we are fearful of things, we're just thinking about, not failing. We're thinking
yeah,
about,
yeah,
immediate danger,
yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah. That's so good.
and how can I escape it?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the thing. And you know what's crazy? I remember when people will say "do it afraid," and I remember sometimes
Mm,
when I've done things afraid, but
mm-hmm.
it's like when I got to the other side, I was like, wow, that wasn't even
Right.
hard.
It wasn't
Like
that bad.
it really
Mm-hmm.
was not hard. It's like that
Mm-hmm.
Patrice said we have to think about everything. The balance for us is on so many levels, and that's real. I think about just one time, this a woman at my job, she asked me to preach at her church, and I was like, what, me? Like like it was like I was working myself up, and I'm like, okay, God, is
Right.
this what I'm supposed to do? And I felt a peace about it. Like, girl, go ahead, do it. The date you want to do it is open. That means you should do it. And it's like I was kicking and screaming the night before, like, I don't want to do it. I'm gonna just tell her I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I'm gonna tell her I can't go. I was making up all these things because I was just so scared. And then once I got there, I'm not even joking. Once I got there, I was still scared. So that wasn't even there. But when I stood up and I started speaking, my husband said I ended up preaching for 50 minutes. And I didn't even,
Wow.
I know, and I
Wow.
didn't even, it felt like 10 minutes. I'm not even joking, but it was one of those things where it's like we will work ourselves up
We will.
regardless of what it is. Like, I'm not even joking. If rent is due, if we got a job interview, if you know what I mean, we
Whatever it
about to get
is.
married, you about to have a
Hmm.
baby, whatever it is, it's one of those things where we could just work ourselves up so much.
Right. And fear can make you talk yourself out of something awesome.
Yep.
Having that fear. And so, a lot of times, if I feel like, there is some level of nervousness, anxiety, or fear, I always ask myself, or I always tell myself that every moment that I encounter, every moment that I experience, is perfectly orchestrated just for my evolution.
Yeah.
So nothing happens to us, it happens
Yeah.
for us. So we got to think about what is going on within us. What is the
Yeah.
situation that is causing us to be fearful? Is this happening for you, or is it happening to you? And I think it's about the way you think about that. When you think about that in that aspect of things, or when you think that something is happening to you, then it's going to cause you to be fearful. But when you realize it is actually happening for you, it puts you in a position of, a new dimension of that situation. And it helps you to look at that situation as something that's positive in your life.
Yeah.
So fear can really turn into something really bad for us,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I think that's so good that you just said that. Is it happening to us or is it
or is
happening
it
for
happening
us?
for
And
you?
I think,
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh no,
And
go
I'm gonna
ahead.
say that this is really a tough one because we're not, we don't always think like, this is happening to us, and
Yeah.
so it's like if you're asked to, or not even if you're asked to do something, let me put it this way. Um, if we consider the perspective that no matter what you feel about the experience, life did something right
Yeah.
to help you
Yeah.
evolve.
Yeah.
Life did something
Yeah.
right for you. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that this is a tough one is because, some of us have really experienced some really terrible things in our life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
when I felt like this is happening to me, I felt like I was the victim, and
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
empowered. But when I feel like it's happening for me, then I got that gift of just opening up and to a new and different way of thinking. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
just thinking differently about the experience and that whole process. So that's why I say, it's not about what's happening to us, it's what's happening for us.
Right. Right. I'm sorry. My husband just texted me and told me my forehead is so shiny right now. He does things like
Don't
that.
you love how honest he is?
Yes. Yes. He's like, I don't know what you put on your face today, but your forehead is shiny, girl. It is. I saw it. I don't know if you saw me, babe, but I was like this the first time, just trying to make it easy. But I don't know. But Jessica said, God leads your steps. It's an opportunity to present it. I'm sorry, to you. It's an opportunity to present it to you. It's because the Most High knew you were ready for it. And then my husband says, Kyle, he says, fear's job is to convince you to do the opposite of what you're actually have power and authority and power to do. And that's is
Absolutely.
something that I definitely agree. And it's funny that I was talking to my son and I was saying I was talking to him literally about the enemy, and I said the enemy's job, because fear comes from the enemy, right? So it's like I said to him, I said the enemy's job is to do anything opposite of what God wants you to do. So
Right,
literally,
right.
so if you are scared to try out for the team, you should try out. It's okay to be disappointed if you don't make it, and it's okay to rejoice if you do. But it's one of those things where you will never know unless you do it. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And
I
I
just
and
thought.
it,
Oh, go ahead.
I was
Nope.
just
Go
gonna
ahead.
say another thing, real quick. I always use fear to help build my muscle,
That's
because
good.
I feel like if I'm fearful, that means that there's either a problem or a challenge. And the
Yeah.
only way you can build your muscle is through problems and challenges, right? And so
Yeah.
you think about that, and you're building resistance. And the way you get stronger is by pushing through something, right? You
Yeah.
build your muscles by pushing through something. So when you experience that fear, you got to think about, once again, we're going back to, is that fear for us? Is it happening to us or happening
Yeah.
for us? So if you're
Yeah.
trying to build that muscle, it's definitely happening, you know, for you.
Yeah. That's so good. I just think about how there's so many layers to fear. I just feel like it's betrayal, failing, the fear of becoming, rejection, not being good enough. Like it is so many levels to those things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I have to be, like, I want to be 100% transparent. Like, the first day of the fast, it was like fear
Oof.
came upon me. So we're fasting for 21 days, prayer and fasting with my church. But that very first day, it was like, I don't know what it was. But when I say like fear was like whoosh, whoosh, like I'm a clove you in fear. It was
Right.
weird. And I was like, what is this and why? Like, I ain't do nothing yet. Like, it was the first day of the fast. Like, I ain't
Yeah.
did nothing. I literally just barely woke up this morning. Like, it was like, but that thing was on me. And I was just like, okay. So I think one of the things is that fear will come before something even comes or present itself,
Absolutely.
like,
Mm-hmm.
honesty. So even if I don't know what I can't think of an example, but this is my example. But it's like sometimes fear will come upon you before you even get to. It's like because the
Mm-hmm.
enemy. I think that people forget, like, the enemy really knows when we pray in regular old English or whatever
Absolutely.
language that you pray
Mm-hmm.
in. He
Mm-hmm.
knows. He knows what you're asking God for.
Right.
He knows
Right.
what you're saying, and that's why the tongue was created. So he won't know, but when you're praying, he knows. So he knows what you're asking God for. It's like I literally been fearful of this one thing because it could potentially cause something else to happen. But in the middle of it, I just keep thinking like, but God is a suddenly God. So it's
Right.
just like I'm
Absolutely.
not even at the thing yet, but I'm being all scared in the
Right.
middle
Right. Right.
of the thing. Like, why are
Right.
you scared in the middle of the thing? You didn't even see if what the outcome was yet. But it's just like God is a suddenly God, and He will turn and flip that thing, in your favor,
Yes.
and He can do it at any time. Isn't that something?
And I always just recite to myself in those moments, God has not given me the spirit of fear. He has
Yeah,
not given me the spirit of fear,
yeah,
but of power
yep,
and of love and of a sound
yep,
mind. And that's
yep,
how you
yep,
have to go into
yep.
it. You have to approach it with that, that he
That's
has
true,
not
so
given us
true, and
that.
that's one of the scriptures I had, 2 Timothy 1:7. Literally,
Hmm.
like, God has not given that. That is so true. And one of the things I really wanted to say was just what did I want to say? Let me think about one. Look, I'm looking at my notes like, what I wanted to say?
Hmm.
Oh, this I was going to say. Fear can look like a lot of things, but the greatest damage to our lives is the ability to alter the decisions we're making. And you kind of said that, you touched on that a little bit earlier. Do you want to talk about that just a little bit, about those decisions that we make out of fear? I think that sometimes that people can forget that. I always say, this is what I tell my students. I say, that temporary feeling, like that your reaction versus your response, right? And I say to
Hmm.
people, and I think this is so, like, it goes hand in hand, but when you react, we're making this this permanent decision based upon a temporary feeling. So if fear came upon us as quick and then we react like that, fight or flight, it's like we react to it, then it's just like we're making this permanent decision based upon just the temporary feeling. And when the feeling is over, then we're serving a consequence for something that we made off of a quick emotion or a quick feeling. But I tell them, when you respond is when you properly think this thing out and then respond. Yes, it could possibly
Absolutely.
have a consequence, but maybe the consequence is not as in depth as an emotional response, right? And a,
Hmm.
a quick
Hmm.
reaction to something. So, I mean, out of fear, I can sign on this dotted line and give somebody $1 million. But if I really
Right.
think about it, like, well, that person doesn't do well. Hold on, let's think about this thing over. But I think that, again, sometimes under pressure and out of fear, we'll make these decisions that can cost us literally. I don't want to say our whole life, because sometimes we can reverse the curse, but it's like sometimes it can cost us our whole life, for people that,
Hmm.
end up going to jail for
Absolutely.
life off of a quick thing. But did you want to dig, or
Absolutely.
can you dig into it
I
a little?
think I think you hit the nail on the head. Fear is definitely debilitating. It can stop you from
Yeah.
making good choices, and I think that's major. A lot of times, people have fears. You talked about earlier that whole idea of fear, or false evidence appearing real.
Hmm.
Those things like phobias and things like that,
Hmm.
that are not things that actually produce a real threat for our lives. Like people are being afraid of, crossing bridges or driving on a highway, things like that. Those false things that are in our minds that prevent us from, completely being our total selves, or being true
Yeah.
to who we really are. So yeah, absolutely. I, definitely feel like they change a lot of things that we do. Our perception of things will definitely change when we allow fear to take over.
Yeah, I think about how fear can literally squash a vision. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally, it can put something to an end, and it could cause you to
Absolutely.
never reach your goals. And I just think,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I think that for myself, I'm like
Right.
why do I allow this thing to
Mm-hmm.
take me over? I have so much power and authority over my choice. Like once I make this decision, I have power to get this thing done. So it's like, why do I allow the enemy? Because fear, I'm gonna keep saying it. Fear is not of God. The fear of God
Right.
is different. That's
Absolutely.
being in
Mm-hmm.
all of God. But fear is not of God. Someone put that in the chat. Fear is not of God because it's
Yes.
really not. And I think sometimes people can mess that thing up and try to mix God in that. But if he ain't want me to do
Mm-hmm.
it, why would I be scared right now?
Right. Right.
Because you're scared. You're scared to take
Right.
the leap.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, husband. Somebody else type fear is not of God. Thank you, Maddie, because fear is not of
Yes. Fear is
God.
not of God.
No, seriously. Don't make a permanent decision in a temporary situation, is what Inga said. And Kyle said the enemy is
I
always listening
agree.
for what he can exploit. That is so true. No, seriously, y'all keep typing fear is not of God because fear is not of God. It's really not. Fear
Absolutely.
is of the enemy. So
Mm-hmm.
what is I want to talk about some practical steps. And I think unless you want to share, I would love for you to share any type of whatever you want to share. Look, whatever you want to share
Mm-hmm.
about an experience or whatever it is where you have overcame fear, when you have been in a fearful situation, which have you done, yada 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 yada. It's all on you. You go, girl.
Okay. And it's funny that we are talking about fear because I will tell you, I'm not fearful, but I am very nervous because I am not really, a person that's always out in the forefront. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
But, I always like to just start, even when I speak with my clients, one of the things I like to do is I like to start with a few paradigms. Like, how do I handle some of the things that I am experiencing? So, one of the things that I would always like to ask myself and ask clients is, how do you look at things from your perspective? How do you look at things from what's actually happening in your life in that moment? So when you say that you're experiencing fear, do you look at that as a downside? Do you look at that and say, I'm not going to take responsibility? Or do you look at that and say, you know what? There is never a downside to how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I'm taking responsibility and I'm owning my experience. And it's so liberating to know that fear does not exist in that type of
Yeah.
situation. So, and a few friends of mine, we all get together and we talk about what does it mean to feel liberated, right? And
Yeah.
so you can't have fear and faith in the same space. So when
Yeah.
you're
That's so good.
having, so when that faith is activated, that's a liberating feeling for you, and it's happening to you in that moment, and you're experiencing that. Like, how are you going to react to every situation? How is
Yeah.
fear going to prevent you from not going out of control, getting
Yeah.
out of control of the situation, or allowing the situation to take you out of
Yeah.
character.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's so good. I love how you said faith and fear can't live in the
In the
same
same
space.
space.
That is so
Absolutely.
true. We are not to house. It's one of those things where I think that people don't even understand sometimes what fear can do to us. It literally, like, you either gonna have faith or you either gonna be fearful. So the doctor gives you a report. It says that you may have blank. All right. So fill your line in what you may have. Right. And it's one of those things where you're either going to have faith that God is going to heal you, bring you through it, or you're going to be fearful that you're going
Hmm.
to die or it's going to get worse. But
Right.
it's like you can't
Right.
say, I'm going to die, but I got faith that God's going to bring me through this. It's literally like a double negative. It's
Absolutely. You
like,
can't. You can't.
right.
You
You're right.
can't.
You're so right. And the same thing, like if you're bidding on a house, it's like,
Hmm.
okay, I know we're not going to get it,
Like,
but
where
I'm
does your
trusting
faith lie?
God. Yeah,
Hmm.
like I'm trusting
Hmm.
God that we're going to get the house. And it's like,
Hmm.
but you just said my husband he'll get me sometimes on this. He'll call me out. Like, and it's the thing, like, I'll be mad, but call me out, sir, so I can get me to me together, and God will convict me later. Like he will convict me about it. But like you can't say this is what you want to do, but then be like, oh,
Right.
I'm scared to do it. Like
Right.
how you gonna
Absolutely.
be like, how you gonna say that this is something that you would like to do, but then you're scared? He gonna talk about no worry, I'll continue, whatever. But how you gonna be, how you gonna be, how you gonna do it? But yes, I seen it said, are you gonna trust God or not? And I think that's literally what it comes down to, literally like trusting God or not. If it's not, then it's you're being fearful of
Hmm.
trusting God. But I think about what happened somewhere along the line, something happened where your trust turned into fear, if that makes sense. Somewhere
Mm.
down that line, it's like whether it be a rooted issue. And one of the things that I like to do, and I go right into my little spiel, because I always like to kind of give like, okay, let's think about practical steps. But one of the things was like I identify what the fear is first, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that thing made me go back to like, okay, if I'm just scared to talk in public, let's just say, what is the root of that thing? Like, what happened to me where I really stopped trusting God? Because there's times when I did it and it was fine, and I'm
Hmm.
not even speaking
Hmm.
specifically about that, but I'm speaking about anybody put whatever that thing is there. But I
Right.
kind of was
Right.
like, let's get to the root of this thing. Like,
Hmm.
where is
Hmm.
this fear? Like, really, like, what is this fear?
I
Where
think
is this
you
fear
just
coming
hit
from?
it. I think you just hit it by talking about getting to the root of it, and
Yeah,
that's what happens in therapy. You
yeah,
go to the root of whatever your issue is. Whenever a new person comes into my office, the very first thing I do is I go back. We talk about your history. So
yeah,
you're here for this today, but let's talk about what happened when you were 2, 3 years old. Tell me
yeah,
some events that happened in your life that have caused you to be the person that you are today, whether or
yeah,
not this fear or this situation that you're coming in for, whether or not it existed then. Just tell me a little bit about your history, so I assess the person first. Going
yeah,
back, way back, I want to know family history. I want to know what happened as a child, what kind of things you were exposed to, because all of those things will then help me to identify some trends in your life. And then
yeah,
we can
yeah,
kind of see where, where that fear may have come from, or whatever the issue may be that's being presented in that moment.
yeah,
We get to see where all of that has come from. So you're
yeah,
absolutely right. There is a root to everything that we experience. There's a root
yeah.
to a lot of reasonings why we think the way that we think. And so, if you don't change how you're thinking, then nothing else will change, because it
Yeah.
starts with the thought.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I really like what you said. You said the trend, and I think that
Hmm.
sometimes we don't realize that there is a trend. So I
Yeah.
think about, oh well, in fifth grade this could have happened, and then like in high school this thing happened again. Then when I was in college this thing happened again, or this thing happened only when I was at my dad's house, or this thing only happened when I was at my mom's house. It's like, oh, this. Hold on, do you not, And sometimes because we're in it, we can't identify that there is a trend. But it's like one
Hmm.
of those things where like let's deal with this trend thing. Like let's deal with this thing that's really a thing, which 9 times out of 10 when you go back to the root, it is literally a rooted issue. So AJ said the
Absolutely.
steps matter. This is good, that hit the root, and that's for real, because I feel like again you have to identify the fear first, but then you got to go back to the root of the fear. But I think sometimes we don't like to go back to the root because we have
No.
to relive a traumatic
I was going to say
experience.
that's a really, really hard place to go, especially if
Yeah,
it's something, that's terrible that has happened to you and you don't want to deal with that again. But it's
yeah,
important to definitely address it again, because it helps you to know how to move forward. It helps you to proceed, in a more healthier way.
yeah,
And so I would always say, if you feel like there is something in your past that you need to deal with, definitely, get counseling, get help, see a therapist, deal with those issues, because if you don't deal with them, you're going to have to see them again. Look, what does Pastor test say? The issue the test that you fail, you're going to see it
yeah,
again.
over and
You're
over and
definitely
over
going to see
again.
it again. And that happens even in fear. We will
Yeah,
see those things happen again. And how are you going to respond to it? You
yeah,
know?
yeah. I want to continue with my steps, but Josina said phobias can cause real fear. Have you ever dealt with people that have phobias?
Absolutely. I have dealt with people that have phobias, and you're absolutely right. Phobias causes a really heavy fear. Fear, anxiety, you can walk into a room full of people and feel like, everybody's looking at you. You're not good enough to be in this circle. You're not good enough to be in this space. You'll be so fearful that you'll leave, wherever you are,
Yeah.
missing out on an opportunity or on a blessing that
Yep.
could happen in your
Yep.
life. So absolutely, I have dealt with clients that have experienced fear. And those are some really tough situations to encounter. But a lot of times we have to expose them back to what it is that they're fearful of in order for them to get around it. And that is also hard. That is
Yeah.
very tough for people to be exposed to something that's not comfortable for them.
Yeah, yeah. Miss Laverne said, and remember, after what you said the test that you fail is the test that you will see again. And then after that, that if you don't overcome that test, then you will pass it down. And I think
Yeah.
that is so good. And I think that people forget is that's how generational curses really start. Like legitly.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
so something generational can start with me. Like, you know what I'm saying? It didn't have to be before me,
Absolutely.
but it can start
It
with
can
me, with
start with
my
you.
kids, and then their kids, and then their kids, and
Absolutely.
their kids. And it's one of the things that's funny is my daughter mentioned something to me, and she said, "Yeah, your mom was like this, you're like this, but I'm not going to be like this." And at
Oh,
first, I said
awesome.
it a few,
Eh,
episodes ago, but I said at first I was like, "Dang, like."
Offended, but that's awesome that
Yeah,
she
but
want
then
to
I was
stop
like,
it.
you
Right.
gotta come on because I don't want you to
Right.
be having no babies at 20. Like my mom had me at 20. I had her at 20. So it was like, I don't want you to be having no babies. Like, I don't want to be a grandma.
Absolutely.
I'm too young to
Mm-hmm.
be a grandma. I
Right.
can't wait to be a grandma later. But it's like I'm too
Mm-hmm.
young to be a grandma. But she identified that thing like this. Look, this is a root issue. Y'all have
Right.
something in common, and I'm gonna need you to kill this thing. But it's something I also prayed about, too. Like that I did not want that cycle to continue. I think that sometimes people forget that something simple that started with your mom and then it lies on you is easy to be broken if you get to the root of it. And I think that we try to negate that because
Right.
it's
Right.
reliving a traumatic experience, because it's reliving hurt, it's reliving pain, it's reliving whatever somebody has went through. And then it's like if it deals with somebody else, sometimes we got to bring somebody else into it. So it's like that's more
Mm-hmm.
pain, that's more trauma, that's more, you know what
Absolutely.
I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
it's
And
like it's so
everybody deals
worth
with things
it.
differently.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now you're talking about, trauma on many levels.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No, that's real. And then I think the other thing I was thinking about is either you're gonna believe it or you're not. Like literally,
right.
it's like practical step. You identify your fear, you're getting to the root. You're either gonna believe it or you're not gonna
Oh, you're
believe it.
not.
Because I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things like we have to make that choice to believe this is real or to believe this is really not real.
Right.
Because if you
Right.
believe that is real, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, now we gotta really go back to the root. But if you're gonna say, okay, this may not be real,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is not going to be real. So it's kind of one of those things like, all right, this ain't real. So whatever this thing is, God, that keeps coming up, you got
Right.
to pray about it and rebuke it. Because I think,
Right.
I think that's one of the things people don't like to do no more. Like rebuke. Yes, I rebuke the
Mm-hmm.
spirit of fear
Mm-hmm.
on my
Mm-hmm.
life.
Right.
Like
Right.
this
And pray
thing
that
is
he
trying
help
to
you
take
deal
me
with it. Like,
out.
how do I deal with
Yes,
this?
yes, yes. And I,
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the things too is just about prayer. Like people forget that
The
God,
power of
listen,
prayer.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go
I said
ahead.
the power. No, all I'm saying is the power of prayer. You're right.
Yes,
People
absolutely.
forget
No,
about that.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Jesus had a choice to be fearful or not. I believe this is just my
Mm-hmm.
opinion that when Satan took him into the wilderness, it's like
Mm-hmm.
he at that point he could have said, "Nah, God, nah, God, we ain't doing this thing," or it's
Right.
like,
Right.
"No, I'm gonna take this like a G that he is because he's definitely a goat." But you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna take this like a G. And I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna put the word to work. And I think that's the thing right there. People don't, I'm sorry, I get so excited. People
No, that's
don't,
all good. That's good. You're
people don't
right.
like to put the word to work. And I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll
Mm-hmm.
forget that there's a word literally for everything that you're going through. And just like you said in
Absolutely.
2 Timothy 1:7, God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of power and a
Mm-hmm.
sound mind. I think that's one of those things that people gotta, you gotta repeat. Like I have not had
Right.
this spirit of fear on me. So why do I have it
Mm-hmm.
now? So
Why do I
God, you
have it?
haven't given me the spirit of fear. And it's like literally repeating that thing over and over and making it a habit. Because
Mm-hmm.
a good habit can kill fear.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
But I think
Right.
sometimes people forget that. I also believe that in our culture is different. A different culture is better to live in denial like it never happened kind of family secret kind of thing. And I definitely agree with that, Miss Laverne, because it's just even with the black thing and the therapy thing. It's just like, nah, this is like our thing, our
Oh
family
yeah,
secret. So we
yeah.
like we don't go to therapy for this family thing.
Mhm.
But it's like,
Mhm.
no, but I'm really scared to get married. Like that could really be a
Right.
thing. I'm scared to get married. I don't see healthy marriages in my family. I see everyone that has a failed marriage. So I'm not going to get married. No, well, let's keep that a secret how all these marriages have failed.
Mhm.
Don't go to
Mhm.
therapy. Don't get to
Mhm.
the root of why the failed marriages are here. Don't make a choice if this is a
Right.
liar. Like it's one
Right.
of those things I think that people definitely do forget. Can you give me or can you add on to any of those practical steps? I should say.
Um, as I said before, let me just go over one of the paradigms that I talked about before. Um, Nothing changes in the world or anyone else until you change.
Yeah.
You can't um, allow fear to debilitate you. So, what do you need
Yeah.
to do? You need to make that conscious decision to
Yeah.
change. And the thing that you're changing is you're changing the way you think. You're transforming
That's
your
so good.
thoughts. It's important to transform the way you're thinking because your thoughts is what cause you to experience that fear.
Yeah.
And again, how you think will change how you feel, and how you feel will change your experience and your view of everything that's happening around you.
That's
So,
so good.
and when you put yourself in that position to receive transformation in your mind, I think that will support you through whatever fear it is that you're experiencing. It starts in your head.
That's so good. I'm
Yeah.
writing my notes because I write notes every week. And I think that's so good. And you know, it's crazy. One of the things we talked about, I actually think I have it here. One of the things that we talked about last month, we talked about nah, maybe I have it right here. Last month we talked about December. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
transformation, and one of the things I
Mm-hmm.
said, like, in order to transform, it starts literally with your mind first, and watch your thoughts because then they become words, and then watch your words because then they become actions. Watch your actions because they become habits, and then watch your habits because they
Because it
become
becomes
your
your lifestyle.
character. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep,
Yep.
and then it becomes your destiny. So it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those things like
Mm-hmm.
because you've went through that cycle, or because you went through those steps, like literally it's like now you're here. It's like you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. But I think that some people forget that sometimes, and someone said it earlier up in the comments, like I think it was Inga. She said life and death is in the power of the tongue. But I think that we
Absolutely.
forget that. It's like, so when we start confessing our fear, oh, now we on a whole nother level. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's different when it's in your mind. You have the ability to stop it even when it's in your mouth. But it's like one of those things that you have the ability to stop that thing when it's in your mind. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
once that thing becomes words, it's hard. Now it's like it's hard to do a pullback once it becomes
Yeah.
words.
I read somewhere where it says fear is either forget everything and run or
Yeah.
face everything and rise.
Oh,
So which
that's
one are
so
you going to do?
good.
Are you going to face everything
Yeah.
and rise, or are you going to continue to run? So
Yeah.
that goes again back to what we talked about earlier about whatever the situation is, it's designed for you. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yep. And that for me is fight or flight too. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that especially now I think that we have to be mindful of what we're allowing the enemy to speak to us. We have to be very mindful because I know one of the things is once you open the door, he can come in. But if that door
Right.
remains closed, you know what I'm saying? Or even I feel like sometimes even if we open it and shut it, it's like we've shut it. Like you may have entertained fear, like the fear of letting go past relationships, the fear of
Mm.
letting go a marriage that we know that we're no longer supposed to be in,
Mm-hmm.
right? A
Mm-hmm.
fear of letting go of the job that we already know our time has expired, but we're holding on as
Mm-hmm.
long as we can because we got to
Absolutely.
get a check every 2 weeks or once a
Mm-hmm.
month, or however we get paid, or the fear of letting go of people and friends because that's our people. But it's like,
Right.
no, we've outgrown those people. So why are we so fearful to let them go?
Yes. Yes. I know that all too well. I know it all too well. And
Yeah,
I would also add that, too many of us are just not living our dreams because we're too
yeah,
busy
yeah,
living our fears. So we're not living what we know to be healthy and happy lives. We're living fearful lives, for
that's
no
so
reason.
good. That is so good. Say that one more time.
And
We're too busy living our
we're just,
fears.
we're living, we're living in our fears, and we're just not living our dreams because we're too fearful to. Too many of us
Yeah,
are just living, you know living fear, living in
yeah.
fear. And I'm thinking of this as I'm speaking. I'm thinking about this old hymn. Oh, what needless pain we
Hey, we
bear.
bear.
All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. But it was a part before that I was trying to get into, but I lost it. But you
Let me
know,
say, I'll Google it.
hopefully.
But you know what's funny? The funny
Oh,
part
what
is
peace, peace, peace,
we
peace. That's the
often
word I'm looking
forfeit.
for.
We often
Yes,
forfeit.
that's the word I was looking for. Oh, what peace we often forfeit, and oh, what
Isn't that
needless
something?
pain we
Isn't
bear,
that something? The
all
needless
because.
pain we bear, we forfeit our
Mhm.
peace. We bear this pain for no reason, all because we don't carry to the Lord in prayer. Yo, I never. This is funny. I never understood that hymn until I got older.
Oh yeah, same
I'm
here.
not even
Of
joking.
course,
Because like when
yeah.
you go to church when you're just young and y'all just sing the hymns, but the words
Hmm.
did not come off of the page for me until I got older and I started
Okay,
singing.
yeah.
And then I know my cousin Joe. Look, that's my cousin. My cousin Josina. She loved her and him. But
Right,
yes,
right,
but
right.
I know. Oh, it didn't come alive for me until I got older and I really heard the words.
Right.
I'm like,
Hmm.
yo, that
Yeah,
hymn was
that's
like
serious.
it.
Yeah,
It
that's
no,
serious.
it really is serious. I think that one of the things is that especially with this year 2024 and how it could go, right? And I'm
Hmm.
saying how it could go because the enemy is tearing up right now because he knows that his time is so short. But I think it is can't find the word. I want to use the word prominent for us to definitely not live in fear, right?
Hmm.
Because I
Hmm.
know that it can get scary out here. Like, with anything that's going on in the world, it can become. I know people that would not literally, like, they would bare minimally go outside during COVID because it had them so fearful. But I think,
Hmm.
again, it's one of those things where is this fear coming from? And it's
Hmm.
either you're going
Hmm.
to walk by faith or you're going to live in fear. Like,
Right, absolutely,
literally,
absolutely.
literally.
Yeah.
Yep.
As you was talking, the first thing, one of the things that popped into my head is that, fear is a thief. It's a
Yeah,
thief of your dreams. It's a thief
that's
of
good.
everything
Right.
that, God has put into you. So if you
Yeah.
allow fear to take over, your destiny is you're sure to fail.
Yeah.
Fear,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's
Yeah. It will literally, like
fear
you
is
said, look, it comes to
debilitating.
kill, steal, and destroy. It
Right.
literally comes to kill, steal, and
Yeah.
destroy.
Mhm.
Really,
It really
it
is.
literally does. It
Hmm.
comes to steal your joy. Like literally,
Absolutely.
it comes to steal your peace and your
Hmm.
love. I think about how people, like somebody, yeah, right. Whose report are you going to believe? Right. I think about how people literally live in fear and they don't get to experience life.
Hmm.
Like there is
Hmm.
good things out here, right? It's
Right.
good things
Right.
in our life. Every day you wake up. Pastor Ted said this a while ago, and it was at the height. It was I can't remember how long ago he said this, but he said something that really struck me. And I don't know if you know Kenisha, because we kind of
Hmm.
just met each other. But I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis during the pandemic. Like literally,
Hmm.
the pandemic hit in March, and I was
Okay.
diagnosed in June. And he
Okay.
said he was preaching one time, and he said, "You either going to live or you going to die." It's like almost like you choose what you're going to do. You're going to
Absolutely.
live your life regardless of your diagnosis,
Hmm.
or you're going to die by like because
Hmm.
you're
Hmm.
fearful. But it's
Right.
like going back to what Patricia said, whose report are you going to believe? But I think like I really feel like it's somebody out here. I'm so serious that literally, I don't know why I keep thinking it's cancer, but I
Right.
believe and I'm praying whoever it is, but I believe, I really strongly believe, I feel it, that you've gotten a
Mm,
report for cancer. And the
mm,
thing is, you're going to believe the report of Jesus, or
mm-hmm,
you're going to believe the report
mm-hmm.
of the enemy. Literally, you're going to
Absolutely.
live your life in fear, or you're going to live your life like God has
Mm-hmm.
prepared this beautiful place on earth for you, and to do what you could do to the fullest until you're no longer here. But I think it's one of those things where we have to decide. We really do. We have to choose to
Absolutely.
live or to live in fear.
Right.
Yep. So, do you have any closing remarks?
Um, and I've said this 1,000 times. I'm just going to bring it home in a different way. But fear is as deep as your mind, and I will
Yeah.
say that it is a prison. Fear is a prison, and
Yeah.
you have to just have the proper tools to be able to escape that thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as we mentioned earlier today, that earlier in the show, that God has not given us that. He's not given
Yeah.
us the spirit of fear, but of
Yeah.
power and of love and of a sound mind, and that's what we should be utilizing.
Yeah. He definitely does not want us to live like that. He does
Mm-hmm.
not want us to live in fear, and neither does he want to rob
Mm-hmm.
us of life, right? The enemy
Absolutely.
wants to rob us of life. But I think,
Mm-hmm.
again, just to reiterate, it's one of those things where if you're dealing with fear right now, in all honesty, it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things where you just identify your fear, get to the root of your fear, and literally just, you're going to believe it or you're not going to believe it. You're going to rebuke it and you're going to pray for it, pray about it or pray for it. And you're going to
Absolutely.
ask God to release this fear, whatever it is, a job, a doctor's report,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, a marriage, like literally, your marriage could be in shambles right now. You're going to believe God or you're going to believe the
Right.
enemy, literally.
Right.
Your children, I know that kids is buck wild these days. I teach them. So I, you know what I mean? Like, I know they buck wild, but
Yes,
it's like,
they are.
you're,
we
you're
we talk about a
right.
whole other generation of kids.
No, seriously, but it's like you're gonna believe, if you did what you're supposed to do as a parent, you're gonna believe it. You're
Right.
not gonna believe it, that
Right.
they're going to come
Absolutely.
back home to God. But it's one of those
Mm-hmm.
things where literally I think that we have to protect ourselves, right? We have to protect our
Absolutely.
peace. We have to protect ourselves. We have to protect our mind. We have to protect our heart. We have to
Right.
guard all those things so the enemy does not do its best to, to come upon us or to try to even cripple us. But I wanted to close here. Can you tell us again, if anybody wants to seek counseling services, how they can connect with you? And one,
Sure.
I want to thank you so much. I really appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing
Thank
your
you.
expertise.
Thank you. It was my honor, and I'm just happy to be, called to do what I do. So thank you so much for
Yeah, of
just
course.
reaching
Thank
out
you.
to me. And so on my Facebook page, I do have a Facebook page for my business. It's called Heartstrings Counseling Services. So if you put Heartstrings Counseling Services in the search, you will find that. And here, coming up shortly, I have a health and life coaching business that I'm launching shortly. So please stay tuned for that. And yeah,
What was, say the
that's how
last
you
thing?
can reach out to me. It's Heartstrings Counseling Services.
Okay, Heart, HEARTSTRINGS Counseling Services. Heart
Yes.
Strings
Counseling
Counseling
services.
Services.
Yes, and you can leave me a message through my website, and I'll reply back.
Yes, thank you. And then say it one more time. The last thing you said, something you're about to do. I'm sorry, I didn't
Yes,
catch it.
I am. No, that's okay. I am launching my health and life coaching business as well. So,
So, what is the difference
yes, so
between
I knew you
counseling
were
and
gonna.
health and life? Yes.
Yes. So, as we talked about earlier, therapy basically deals with your past. We go back
Yeah.
into your past and we talk about what happened in your history. What was life like for you that caused
Yeah.
you to be the person that you are today, and it basically allows you to deal with those things, those past issues or those past hurts or whatever they may be, past trauma. It helps you to deal with those things, and it helps you to embrace them and understand why you are the person you are today. As
Wow.
far as coaching is concerned, coaching is now that we know who you are and why you
Yeah.
are that way, let's talk about where you're going. How can we utilize those things as a tool, as a vehicle to help you get to the next level in your life?
I love that. I felt like I knew you was gonna say that, but I absolutely love that, y'all. And she black. If she believe in God. When I look for a therapist, that's the first thing. You gotta be black and you gotta believe in God. Even if we don't talk about God, I just need to know that you got that biblical sense in the back of your mind. So if I start
Absolutely.
acting crazy, tell me I'm out of order and take me
I
to
know
the
that's
word.
right. I
I'm
know
sick.
that's
My
right.
therapist was doing. I had her a while
Absolutely.
ago, but I mean, she believed in God, but she would say, okay, so these, like you said, these are the practical steps to do this. And then I
Right.
would say, but I don't want to do it. And she'd be like, let me take you to the word.
Well,
Like,
let me take you. Yep.
yes.
Right.
And she'd be
Right.
like,
Because
girl,
you're a
get
woman
your
of
life.
God. You know.
Yes.
Right. You know, these
She's
are the
like, girl,
steps
get
you
your
really
life.
need to take.
Get your
Absolutely.
life all the way together. I'm going to give you this bib. Let me smack you with a Bible verse. And then I would be like, okay, thank you. Like, I'm good now. But yes.
Right.
Yes. So I think one of the things, especially if, listen, even if you're not a Christian, but you want to know more about God, I love to say, like, find yourself a therapist. Like, literally,
Absolutely.
I'm so serious. If you find yourself a Christian therapist that can help you to navigate your issues, but to go like to your coaching services now, like
Right.
seriously. So I think I really do appreciate you, Kenisha. I'm so grateful and so honored that you took out 55 minutes and 23 seconds of your night to be with me. And I really do love you. I'm so serious. And we're definitely gonna
Thank you
connect
for having
outside.
me. Oh, love you more. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next week. What's next week? Next Monday. Yes, I'll see y'all next Monday, 8 o'clock. We got another. I'm excited about this. This is my first, not really male guest, but my first male guest by himself outside of my husband. So I'm very excited. We have another black male therapist, and he's a Christian. So we have another black male therapist on, and we're going to dig deeper into unpacking your baggage. Is January. I want y'all to be free for the rest of the year. I want y'all to be free for the rest of your life, not even
right.
just for the year, but for the rest of your life. So I really appreciate y'all. Honey, can you stop? My husband talking about I was the first male guest. I, I know you was the first male
Let's
guest.
be clear.
Yes, I said outside of my husband. I love y'all. Please like and share this. I'm so serious. I want people to see this. I want people to see Kenisha. I want them to see her expertise in unpacking your baggage. I want people to know that she has a coaching business coming. I want people to know that she's a therapist now and she's taking new clients, right?
Yeah. Well, so let me just say this before you
Say
go
that.
there. So that's why I mentioned the health and life coaching, which is coming
Yes.
real soon. But right now I'm doing, I have a contract with the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
So, I am not accepting clients right now because I'm working with strictly that contract.
Okay.
Once I launch this health and life thing, then I'll be accepting new clients. I
Yeah.
can't
So
accept any more of my caseload right now.
when can we expect for your
We can
coaching business?
expect the coaching business to launch the 1st of March.
Oh,
The first
girl,
week of
that's like
March.
next week.
Yeah, it's coming. It's
Get
coming
your
real soon.
funds together. That's like next week. That
It's coming real
not next
soon.
week, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
that's like a
yep.
month and a half away. So that's really good.
Yes.
I'm so serious. Yes, who the sun sets free is free indeed. I want people to be free for the rest
Yes.
for the rest of
Free.
their life. I'm so serious about that. So I really do appreciate you. I'm so serious. I love you so much, and I'm so grateful and honored that you decided to say yes.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Love
And
you.
I believe that this is not going to be the first, and this is not going to be the last. So you're going to be able to say, yeah, I've been
Absolutely.
on all these interviews now, girl. I appreciate you. I love you. See y'all next Monday at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, see you later.
All right. Bye bye.